From American actors who became governors, the former later elected president, the latter known for the phrase,
"I'll be back,"
to Chima and Chinua, two of Africa's most famous authors, who, though not related by some freaky coincidence, lived in the same house several years apart. And sadly, things did fall apart. Two American T-Ribs and German M. Schumacher, Formula One aficionados, born on the same day. From America's first black ballerina to Robert Ballard. From Indian author, teacher of yoga, BKS Iyengar, who reminds us that we're not getting any younger. To the drama in Bahama and the rumble in the jungle. A killer and a chiller and the thriller in Manila. To Malala and Lilibeth, the former whose son almost set in the SWAT district from an assassin's bullet. The latter, Her Royal Majesty, whose empire the sun, it was said, never set. To the exquisite beauty of our expansive, expanding, and majestic universe. Whatever takes your fancy, there's something for everyone right here, right now. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sotonye Afiesimama and this is Today in History for the last day of January 31st. Coming up in today's Today in History, just like I promised yesterday, the first spacecraft on the moon is going to be featured. Do you know what that was called? Pan Am Flight 103 as well. If you're intrigued, you'll soon find out what that is all about. Also to be featured today, an Austrian composer, and a few more. It's jam-packed today actually, so stay with me as we reveal today's first event as recorded in history. If you guessed Austrian composer, yes, you would have guessed right. The year was 1797, and his name was Franz Schubert. Full name, Franz Peter Schubert. That's the guy pictured here. He was born on this day in 1797. He was a composer of the late classical and early romantic eras. Despite his short lifetime, he died in 1928 at a young age of 1. Schubert left behind a vast oeuvre, including more than 600 secular vocal works, mainly lieder, 7 complete symphonies, sacred music, operas, incidental music, and a large body of piano and chamber music. Basically, this guy composed 600 pieces of music by the age of 31. So he had composed over 600 pieces of music by the age of 31, by the time of his death. So Franz Schubert was born on this day in 1797. He was an Austrian composer. So did you guess that right? Students of music and history, you should know this. Let's move on to the year 1919. On this day, Jackie Robinson, pictured here, was born. He was born in Cairo, in the state of Georgia, in a country called the United States of America. He was the first African-American Major League Baseball player of the modern era. So the modern era, obviously the 20th century. He made history in 1947 when he became the first African-American Major League Baseball player. He was born again in 1919 on this day. The day again, January 31st, 1919, just in case you didn't know what day it was today. Okay, let's move on now to the year 1934. This was the day that Etta made history by singing for President Roosevelt at the White House dinner. She became, of course, the first African-American celebrity to perform at the White House. Her full name was Etta Barnett. Born November 5th, 1901. She died, sadly, on the 2nd of January, 2004. Wow, she lived a long life. She was 103 at the time of her death. She was an American actress also. She was a contralto vocalist and who was identified with her signature role of Bess in Porgy and Bess. She created new roles for African American women on stage and screen. After her performing career, Barnett was active in Chicago as a major philanthropist and civic activist, raising funds for and supporting cultural, social, and church institutions. Etta Barnett, born in 1901 on the 5th of November, died 2nd January 2004 at the age of 103. That's incredible. It's an incredibly long life. She made history on this day when she sang for President Roosevelt at the White House dinner, becoming the first African-American celebrity to perform at the White House. That's Etta Barnett, or Etta Barnett, Etta Morton Barnett. That's her again in the middle, of course, practicing. Last but not least, it's another picture of the beautiful Etta Barnett. Again, she made history on this day when she performed in the White House, first African American to do so. Next, 1958, Explorer 1, pictured here, the first artificial space satellite orbited by the United States, marking the country's entry into the space race. So this was the day in 1958 that Explorer 1, pictured here, the first artificial space satellite orbited by the United States, was launched into space. 1962, 4 years later, so we've gone from space to the sea, and this is Lieutenant Commander Samuel L. Gravely. He assumed command of destroyer escort USS Falgout. Navy said he was the first black to command a US warship. So, according to naval history, this was the first African American to command a US warship. His name again was Lieutenant or Lieutenant Commander Samuel L. Gravely. On this day, he assumed command of the USS Falgout, the destroyer escort. Okay, let's move on to the next event on this day, and it was the birth of beautiful lady Carrie Washington. This is Carrie Washington, pictured here. She was born in the Bronx, New York, on this day in 1977. She's best known for the films Ray and The Last King of Scotland. Yeah, I saw snippets of The Last King of Scotland many, many years ago. It must have been at least 20 years ago now, maybe 18 years. Well, yeah, Last King of Scotland, I think was a bit of a comedy, I think, if I remember correctly. Tragic comedy, maybe. Anyway, Carrie Washington, pictured here, she is 44 years old today. So happy birthday, Carrie Washington, best known for the films Ray and The Last King of Scotland. She is an actress, of course. In 1981, another American celebrity was born, this time American singer Justin Timberlake. He's also an actor. He was a member of the hugely successful boy band NSYNC. I'm sure some of you have heard about NSYNC. He launched a solo career, and obviously the rest, as I say, is history. Justin Timberlake, happy birthday, Justin Timberlake. He has hit the big 4-0 today, January 31st. So Justin Timberlake, American singer and actor, was born on this day, former member of NSYNC, is 40 years old today. Next, on this day, Douglas Lee Williams, who was born on the 9th of August 1955. He's an American football executive and former quarterback and coach, best known for his performance with the Washington Redskins in Super Bowl 22 against the Denver Broncos, where he was named Super Bowl Most Valuable Player after passing for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns, a single-quarter Super Bowl record which he set in the second quarter. It made him the first black quarterback to both start and win a Super Bowl. So that event happened on this day in 1988. Douglas Lee Williams made history when he became the first black quarterback to both start and win a Super Bowl. Next, the year is 2001. Pictured here is Libyan national Abdel Basset Ali Mohammed Al-Megrahi, who was convicted in the 1988 Pan Am Flight 103 bombing, in which 270 people sadly lost their lives. In 2009, the Scottish government released Megrahi from prison after he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So this was the day in 2001 that Megrahi, Ali Mohammed Al-Megrahi, was convicted in 1988 of the Pan Am Flight bombing that happened over Lockerbie in Scotland. So for those of you who haven't heard about this, go to the internet, go on the internet and do a search. It was a day of obviously grief and shock, for billions of people around the world when they found out that this had happened over the small town of Lockerbie in Scotland. So this is a guy who was accused of being the brainchild behind this terrorist act. Some people say he wasn't guilty, someone else was behind it. We don't know the truth, but he was convicted on this day for the bombing of Flight 103. So Pan Am Flight 103, I did mention that at the outset actually, so that's why Pan Am Flight 103 made history. 1988 was the year it happened, but he was convicted on this day in 2001. Last but not least, of course, as you all know, Brexit happened on this day exactly a year ago. The United Kingdom formally left the European Union more than 3 years after the country voted for Brexit. So that's history as it happened on this day, January 31st. I shall see you tomorrow, February 1st. There is a lot to talk about for tomorrow's Today in History. Stay safe. Don't forget to click the like button if you do like this video. I was going to say if you do like the button, but yeah. Just give me a thumbs up, guys, if you like this video. Share the video as well to your various social media platforms. Your family and friends, there might be 1 or 2 people who are interested in things like this, Today in History. And also, consider subscribing so that you receive updates of my video uploads. Take care of yourselves and each other. Stay safe, and I shall see you tomorrow, February 1st. Bye-bye.